all these characters are.
And it all culminates in freaking Damian Nichols.
Right. So all the way up to today, Damian Eccles, we flat out stated he was persecuted for his love of the knowledge of Aleister Crowley. Flat out said it.
Yeah,
who is that now? Who is Damian Eccles?
The guy from the West Memphis Three. It's like any way you want to cut it. Okay, so it starts out with what we believe is a satanic sacrifice. And then you flash forward to today. If he was sacrificing those kids for wealth and power, he freaking got, wealth and power. I mean, not as much power, but definitely celebrity, and just went from jail to the kind of world being handed to him on a platter.
Yeah,
how so?
Absolutely. He was hanging out with Johnny Depp, going around with Johnny Depp, doing on private flights with the guy who directed
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson, tattoos with all these wealthy people. He and Johnny
Marilyn
Depp
Manson, Eddie Vedder. Yeah. It's crazy.
So he was actually one of the guys that got convicted, or no?
Yeah. He's
actually the West Memphis Three are unique or very interesting. I don't think there's I can't find anything similar, but they were actually double convicts. They were all convicted in 1994, and then to get out of jail in 2011, they all signed on the dotted line to first-degree murder. That the state had enough information to get them out, to convict them again. They signed, and that signature charged them for time served. So all that time that they had served up until that, it was like 19 years. Was counted.
Wait.
But they're still guilty. They're still guilty.
Wait. You're saying they were charged twice. How
they weren't charged twice. They were found guilty.
Explain the Alford plea a little bit more, William.
Yeah, can you explain that? Because I'm pretty sure that would violate double jeopardy, unless I'm misunderstanding what you're saying.
No, it doesn't violate double jeopardy if they find themselves guilty again. There wasn't a second trial. They went straight to just admitting to first-degree murder. That was in August of 2011.
I don't think it's as simple as that. The Alford plea is saying, basically, we didn't do this, but we acknowledge that you have enough to convict us. That's my understanding of what the Alford plea is, right?
It's North Carolina versus Alford. It's a Supreme Court case, and all Alford did is just stated that he was innocent publicly, but he could still plead guilty, and that's exactly what they did. They accepted an Alford plea where they said they were guilty, but they were, prancing around saying they were innocent.
Now I'm still not understanding. If they were found guilty once, but then they took an Alford plea, I'm still not seeing how that wouldn't violate double jeopardy.
Well, they were going to go into a separate trial, and the thing is, so much money was.
They were going to be retried.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Defense, like millions.
So they threw out the first trial.
I don't think the first trial was ever nullified. I think that the second was a plea agreement to get out of jail for time served in 2011.
Okay, so maybe I am just an idiot, but I'm still not seeing how that wouldn't be double jeopardy.
Well, they were never retried. They just went and said they pled guilty again. That's what they did. So I don't think that there was ever really, the state never really retried them a second time.
But
I think if they knew they couldn't because of the money, like the freaking millions from Hollywood, if the millions influenced the trial and somehow.
I don't think there's any doubt. I don't think that there's any doubt that the chief prosecutor in Arkansas at that time was intimidated by all the legal power that was put behind him and money. So he just accepted it and moved on, washed his hands of it.
That's the only conclusion you can draw. And even from his own words, he says, we know for a fact they're guilty and we could have proven it again. It's just like they couldn't take that chance. It's like all this power was coming in, and even freaking, regular justice couldn't be served going up against that power.
Regular justice was not served in 2011, that's for sure. And I think that at that time, the West Memphis Three had solidly won public opinion over to make people believe that they were innocent, little country bumpkins who were unjustly accused and convicted.
Yeah, once you find out that freaking Miss Kelly, it's very possible that the low IQ thing came as I don't know, correct way to. They used that to kind of leverage his, I guess, people's opinion of him. When you see that was kind of fake because you had in the book his original IQ scores weren't like that until he got that one lawyer. Well, they went down.
Right. They slowly deflated to get under the legal standard of 70 points.
William, I think that Ben and myself, we're both still kind of trying to figure out what was touched upon a moment ago with this Alford plea.
The double jeopardy thing is that the double jeopardy thing is this, that you're only going to be considered in double jeopardy if you were found innocent in the first trial and then they retry you, right, to try to prove that you're guilty in second trial, right? So this wouldn't fall under that.
Here's the thing: is the second trial.
So it was sort of like an appeal.
They were definitely in an appeal. They were definitely in an appeal state.
Okay,
the trial wasn't actually going to be pertaining to anything that took place in the first trial. The second trial was going to be consideration of so-called new evidence that was ginned up at that time. So they said that they had new DNA evidence that was conclusively going to prove they were not there. And
which did not at all.
Right. So that's really what reopened that whole case, was this new kind of wave that went through all of the state and I think federal courts, which was the viability of past new DNA evidence that they didn't have at the time of earlier cases that could absolve people for their crimes. And so that's really what the lever that the West Memphis 3 attorneys used to reopen the case. And so as it was being reopened, they were going to retry on this so-called new evidence, which was never presented in a court of law. And then they blinked and just said, okay, you can get out for time served. Bye.
Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. In entering an Alford plea, the defendant admits that the evidence presented by the prosecution would be likely to persuade a judge or jury to find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It doesn't mean that they were saying, yes, we did this, but let us go. As my understanding, that they're saying this would be compelling evidence, but we're still maintaining our innocence. That's what I understand.
They're publicly stating in the instance of the West Memphis 3 in August of 2011, they pled guilty to first-degree murder, all three, and were under probation until 2021.
Yeah, so Jeremy, did you watch the last video?
They are guilty again.
Yeah.
They are legally guilty. So they can state publicly whatever they want, but they are legally guilty at law in court, and have to state that in job applications or whatever, that they pled guilty to first-degree murder.
Yeah.
So my understanding is it's basically like it basically is just a plea agreement. Like, we're gonna say we did it, but we're gonna but the state, in order not to waste your resources and so forth, we're just gonna give you the time you've already served.
That's what happened in the West Memphis 3, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly like when you watch the video of it happening. They say, it's pretty. That part's pretty much clear when you watch the third documentary.
The documentaries are very deceptive. They omitted massive amounts of facts. Eccles had a 500-page psych eval, a psych case exhibit that he included in his appeal of his death sentence that his own attorneys compiled, which HBO found very comfortable in ignoring, and also the post-conviction audio recordings of Jesse Misskelley confessing over and over and over again, once on a Bible, once in front of his attorney, who's begging him not to say that he did it, not to implicate himself. These were all left out of those very deceptive documentaries, which misled a lot of people. And Joe Berlinger and Sinofsky, in my opinion, are liars of the first order. They just manipulated the whole case. They manipulated the parents of people involved. They, according to the parents, they were paid money to do one thing. Another thing showed up in the documentary, and the third one made Terry Hobbs look guilty when there was never ever any evidence that he was involved. Nothing ever solid. There was rumor and innuendo and some statements by some rapists in west of Memphis that Eccles produced, which is another biased documentary. So you got to go watch where you get your information and actual, real, conclusive facts.
Yeah, that's what I really liked about your book. Because
Eccles produced a documentary?
Correct.
Yeah, what I really liked about your book was there was very little. I mean, of course, you wrote your opinions in it, but like pretty much, I would say a good 80% of the book is just everything collected.
It's the court records.
Yeah.
And that they covered up all of Eccles' knowledge of being in the OTO. Like the OTO's own documents say that Eccles has his own library in Arkansas. I mean, they just admitted so many things that are important. The huge black sun tattoo he has, all these secret society tats, his affiliation with Genesis P. Orridge, who's another Crowley acolyte. I mean, it just goes on and on.
So he was a member of the OTO?
Yeah.
Eccles was a member of the OTO?
Correct.
Oh, I did not know that.
Of course not. You're not supposed to.
Hey guys, Jeremy and Zach, you guys really didn't do a very good job of getting me interested in this with your other conversations about the West Memphis 3.
Sorry.
He didn't mention the OTO or any of this other stuff. Come on, man.
It's a big case.
And I will say,
well,
like,
here's the other thing too, is that some of these people who are involved in writing the so-called book of record are biased. I mean, it was evidence that the writer of Devil's Knot actually gave Eccles and his wife a pre-publication edition of the book to read over, and according to one observer, there was a receipt for the attorneys for Eccles to actually look over the Devil's Knot book to vet it, to see if there's anything in there that could be condemnatory towards Eccles. So that's put forward as, and this was a movie. It turned into a movie with Reese Witherspoon. This is like this is the baseline that people get for this case, which is an abomination. It's a monstrosity.
I do want to say that movie is pretty much my sum total knowledge of the case. I will ask you to pardon me if I do say ask or say anything stupid. I did intend to do research for this. Unfortunately, things in my personal life prevented that. So what your essential argument is that they were not guilty just in a legal sense. You believe that there's compelling evidence to believe that they are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Tons of compelling evidence. I mean, even in the court when they were convicted, there was a whole family who saw Eccles on the site muddy.